And we're back now on the roundtable. Pierre Thomas joining us as well. Thanks for that great interview. But I want to start with Congressman Ellison right here. You heard Ray Kelly's argument right there. Stop and frisk is working. It's saving lives.
Well, I don't necessarily agree it's because of stop and frisk. I mean, we have demographic changes that would account for crime reduction. The reality is that police need the goodwill of the citizens in order to be more effective in law enforcement. And if this program is breeding resentment and distrust, it hurts the goal of law enforcement. And so I hope he, despite what he might say to the public, digs in and figures out, is this thing really helping? Could we do better? Can we fit more with the Fourth Amendment and the requirements of the Constitution? And I don't think it's smart for him to ignore.
Even before this ruling, Bill Kristol, the police department had cut way back on stop and frisk.
Which worries me. In 1990, there were 2,200 murders in New York. Last year, there were 414. We're not talking about a trivial accomplishment. The Giuliani-Bloomberg accomplishment of cutting crime, radically cutting crime, way beyond what anyone thought was possible in New York, has made possible the economic revitalization of New York and an awful lot of other good things, as well as saving a lot of lives. And it's typical of liberal judges, if I might say, and liberal policymakers that they go after one of the most successful policies actually in place in a real city in tough circumstances, one of the most successful organizations, the NYPD, the New York Police Department, and they cavalierly decide, well, we can do away with this now.
Any place for the White House to weigh in on this debate?
Probably. I mean, I think this is an issue for New York City. I mean, obviously, Eric Holder talked about some sentencing things, which I think we'll get to. But obviously, the officials here, most importantly, the police, deserve great credit for the reduction in crime. A judge has spoken, so there are going to have to be some adjustments. I think there is a question how much of the reduction is due to stop and frisk versus some of the other great techniques that they've employed here. But clearly, there's going to have to be some adjustments going forward, given the judge's ruling.
You know, this is an example to me of sometimes I think our debate is actually over-polarized. I think there is truth on both sides. On the one hand, the program is working, and on the other hand, there's no question that there's abuse, and there's no question that resentment is being bred. I don't happen to agree with the judge's ruling that it's unconstitutional, but I do agree that there ought to be some introspection and examination about how do we apply this program in a way that's more community-friendly.
And what she's called for isn't all that, intrusive necessarily. Monitor, some more training. Yes, the cameras in some limited precincts. I do want to go to the point you brought up, David, this point about mandatory minimums. Big announcement from the Attorney General this week saying that he wanted to find a way to have fewer prosecutions that would lead to mandatory minimum sentences for drug crimes.
Because they oftentimes generate unfairly long sentences, they breed disrespect for the system. When applied indiscriminately, they do not serve public safety. They have had a destabilizing effect on particular communities, largely poor and of color. And applied inappropriately, they are ultimately counterproductive.
And you pointed out, Pierre Thomas, you were there at the speech, that we've had such a huge overcrowding in our prisons, largely because of nonviolent drug offenders.